Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute, but I'm back. Got a couple of videos that need to upload, and the door behind me is one of them. Got all of the issues worked out with it, I hope, and it's ready for paint. So this video is going to get into basically the body work and getting it to the stage where it is behind me, and hopefully soon I'll be able to get that into paint and get it back on the vehicle, which brings up a topic of some of the future videos. I decided that some of the hardware that I need to reuse, I wasn't really going to be happy with painting, and some of the stuff like this, door latches, the strikers, kind of the miscellaneous hardware and stuff that isn't chrome. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't really want to paint this stuff. It's not really the look I'm going for. I didn't want to buy aftermarket stuff. It's really expensive for what it is, and there's nothing wrong with the hardware I have. So I decided the best thing to do after I get this stripped down to bare metal is plate it. So I'm going to be nickel plating a lot of the hardware I've got, and that stuff will be in a future video where I'm going to show you guys how to nickel plate if you guys don't already know how to do it, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be nickel plating a lot of this hardware, and also a lot of the screws and smaller nuts and bolts that are either chrome or nickel. Those will be replated as well. So anyway, let's get into the door video and show you guys what I got done on the door. All right, guys, back to work on the door with metal work done, moving forward with the body work. And as you can see, I got my filler laid on in the areas on the inside of the door that had all the issues, areas where I extended the door edge, had to do some metal work, and then also all the areas that had imperfections from shipping and manufacture on the inside of the door. One thing I suck at is laying filler on. Maybe I'm doing it right, maybe I'm not. It just never feels to me like it's right. But the end result always turns out good, so I guess whatever, right? Well, for the long areas here, I'm gonna use my file board, and then for these other areas, probably gonna do it by hand and use the DA for these areas. And obviously, these areas where the welds are, gonna have to do that by hand. So let's get sanding. All right, so I lied. I just used the DA to do this whole inside. Didn't want to use the file board because, well, power tools are better. And also, the only two areas about this door that I really care about on the inside is right here and right here. It's the only two spots that need to stay pretty flat because that's about the main thing that your eye will see inside. The rest of the stuff is just more slightly cosmetic. I just didn't want to have any major stuff, possibly showing where I did these patch panels, and obviously wanted to fill the dent here and the spot welds there and there. So inside the door is done. At least it's good enough to go on the next stage, which would be sealer and primer. And obviously, because of the door issues that I had with the rockers clearing, this is definitely sanded down below the actual height of the metal. So there will be a little bit of rippling that you'll see here when it's painted. Don't care, it's on the bottom of the door, on the inside. I'll never see it, but I just wanted to kind of clean it up a decent amount. And the main thing that I did with this section is the factory door, at least this door, this came and rounded out substantially more and then was more flat and then cut this way. The way I weld this new piece on, this tapers back this way more from here to here, and then from here to this point, instead of having a nice arched roundness to it, it's cut in more, almost like inset like that. So that will definitely clear as well. And then cleaned up this edge, mainly just the imperfections from the grinding marks, and of course the little spots that had to fix up here. So the side is done. Flip it over, prep the other side. The other side is going to take a lot longer. The other side is the one I care about being nice and mirror flat. So this, once built up with a couple coats of primer, will be fine. Okay, flip the door over. We're on the pretty side now. And reminded by a couple of my notes, a few other little things I need to take care of before I sand this down and get some filler on the outside here. Two biggest things, obviously cut my holes for the mirrors and check the wing window. That was one last thing I wanted to do really quick, was check the fitment of the wing window and make sure that the screw holes along here are in the right location for a good wing window fit. Because now is definitely the time to do that before I start doing anything on this side. Probably should have done that sooner on the wing window fitment, but fuck it, whatever. You know, what I'm supposed to do and what I will do are two different things. Oh, and shit, I just remembered, I need to make a note. I need to fix this too. I was test fitting door handles and I noticed that the handle didn't quite fit right because these screw holes are not correct. This hole needs to be adjusted slightly so the handle fits flush. Got to do that too. All right, so got this thing ready for filler now. Just gonna do a skim coat on it and hopefully that's all it'll need to fix any of the imperfections. I've fixed everything that I know that I had to do on here, including grinding this edge down that was sticking out a little bit, back welded it, grounded again, and now this is a nice flush edge. It doesn't have a point sticking out. This bottom edge is as flat as I can get it. Ground the high build of the factory weld off right here, get that filled. And then got my holes drilled for the mirror. Mind you, these are a lot smaller than they're supposed to be. I just got them very close and I'm going to get them exact and open them up later after the body work is done. This is just to market. I figure it's a lot better just to start off small with these, then fit the mirror to it and open them up to get the actual alignment just perfect. I did also install the wing window in here, and I initially thought there was going to be problems with the way it fit, mainly where these three screw holes line it up inside the frame here, but I double checked, put it in the old door and then put it back in here, and the way it fits in the old door is almost identical to the way it fits in this door. So that is good. The issue I'm having with it is something else, and it's nothing that I can actually think of what the problem is and how to actually fix. I don't think it has anything to do with the sheet metal of the door, so I'm going to worry about that in the future. Hopefully I'm not making a big mistake by doing that, but I'll show you guys in a future video on assembly what the issue with the wing window was. And I know some guys will take this EDP coating completely off, sand it down to bare metal, and then apply the filler or do the epoxy coat and then filler on top of that. It's a hell of a lot of work to completely remove this stuff, so I don't go that method. This is actually a lot more ground down to metal than I normally go, but I want to make sure and get a really good bite on this. I feel like this is sufficient. So this has already been hit with wax and grease remover and it's cleaned up. So I'm going to mix up some filler and start applying. Again, this is the one area that I really suck at. I can never get a very, very thin coating. It's always thicker than I want it to be. Don't have enough experience with putting on a nice, thin, even coating. So a lot of the filler ends up going to waste and ends up sanded on the floor, but you know. And most of this door should not require hardly any. The main areas will be across the bottom here to get this bottom edge nice and straight. And along this edge, there's a couple of low spots you can actually see from where there's still black exposed in areas with the EDB coating. So there are some low spots. There's usually always low spots around both edges and along the bottom. So that's just kind of normal. Everywhere else should be pretty good though. It should not require a lot, and pretty much all of the filler I'm expecting to be completely sanded off. I'm hoping to only have to apply filler once and do a sand and then do primer. This door isn't that horrible that I'm expecting to have to do filler, sand, but we'll see. All right, so got the body filler, skim coat done, and sanded down to a final of 220. Gonna go ahead and get this epoxied, and first coat's of primer on here. As you can see, the bottom did require the most as far as a skim coat. The top part, there was a little bit of waviness, fairly flat. A little bit of issues right here as well. And what I'm gonna do is just do this top side and then flip it over and then do the bottom side, mainly because I'm not gonna do the whole door in primer. Like I said before, just gonna do the areas that were body worked and then just get it painted. Most of this stuff is quite thin, as you can see, black showing through here in areas right here. This right here is probably the thickest area. There's probably about 1 millimeter or so in this general area, but overall it wasn't too bad. Just a lot of sanding. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this primed and hopefully get a better look of how it looks after the primer. The shop was a little bit colder than I anticipated. It was only about 60 degrees in here. Didn't turn on the heat soon enough. So the epoxy took a little bit longer to dry than I liked, but got it dry. Got 3 wet coats of primer on here, guide coat on top. Let this dry overnight. Tomorrow, flip it over, spray the underside with primer in the spots it needs to be primed, and then I'll let this sit for a couple days before I start wet sanding. Normally, I'd throw this out in the sun, let it sit and bake over a day's period, but it's winter, it's cold. So just gonna have to let this sit in the shop, turn the heat up a little bit, and then start wet sanding in a couple of days. Most likely gonna have to wet sand and obviously build up again with a second coat of primer, just because there's a few spots I noticed that probably will not sand out. So I'm kind of expecting to have to go twice on this, just like the rest of the truck, before I'm able to base and clear. But you never know, might get lucky, find out after I start sanding into it. So that does it for the door. Hopefully, again, all the issues are worked out, and hopefully after all the work I put into it, the paint turns out nice. Probably not gonna do a video on that. Done a lot of videos on paint in the past. It's just a small part, so I'm probably just gonna get it painted when the time comes and just do the next post video on the C10 with the door installed on the truck. And then you get to see, as I get to see, if I'm gonna be upset or not. But anyway, thanks again everyone for watching. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. We'll see you guys next time.